Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican. Today we're doing a reaction video on Beau of the Fifth Column, who's a YouTuber, and he is talking about oligarchy today. So let's run that video. The reason I'm doing it is because I've been working on a few videos about oligarchy, and so he beat me to the punch.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Beau again. So today we are going to talk about oligarchs and oligarchies, what it is, because that term is being thrown around a lot right now, and it has prompted a bunch of questions. So we'll start at the beginning. What's an oligarch? Somebody who participates in an oligarchy. What's an oligarchy? That is a power structure where power is in the hands of a small number of people, and they use that power corruptly and such. But that's kind of broad too, because that can describe a military dictatorship. When people use the term oligarch today in current conversation, they're talking about financial oligarchs. So there are a bunch of different kinds of oligarchs. So they are talking about those who use financial power to influence the government to do its bidding. The conversation is focused on Russian or Ukrainian oligarchs. Both countries have. They both take power very much the same way. So they use that word in the way that would benefit them, using that selfishly and correctly. They cannot became the new ruling class of those countries. And absent anti-corruption initiatives, they've pretty much remained in power. So from there, when we start referring to U.S. billionaires as oligarchs, when do we talk about it in this country? And the answer to that is 2014. There was a study that came out of Princeton and Northwestern in 2014 that looked at policy decisions that were made between 1981 and 2002. Looked at 1,800 policy decisions, paying particular attention to those where the public wanted one thing and the business class, well, they wanted something else. Almost without fail, the business class got what it wanted.
All right, this is pretty good so far. Pretty good definition. I would say on the history, it goes back a lot further. Ancient Greece had oligarchies among its numerous city-states. But he also talks about in the United States, when people referred to oligarchs in 2014. This is a good social science study that he's referring to. But I would argue that it goes back even further. If you remember, the United States Senate was originally supposed to be the oligarchic outlet, and they were supposed to be representing the states, and of course the interests in the states would be directly funneled into the U.S. Senate. And so the U.S. Senate was elected by the state legislatures, but then in the early 20th century, we passed the 17th Amendment in hopes to change that and to make it more democratic. But with the 17th Amendment, we decided to change that so the people would elect the senators. Yeah, so the Senate was supposed to be less oligarchic after that, but you always have, going back to Machiavelli, you always have an oligarchy, no matter what. So let's see what else he has to say.
Now, in the instances where the public got what it wanted, generally it was either the business class wanted it as well, or they just didn't oppose it. But pretty much any time the business class wanted A and the public wanted B, the government went with A. So that led to the idea of a civil oligarchy, which is where that financial power, those power keepers, they get used and they get used selfishly and wrongly. However, they stay within the confines of the law. I don't know how much weight I put into that little distinction, because if you have enough power coupons, if you have enough money, and you can use that money to influence the law, you can just change the law so you stay within it. I don't know about that. From that study, which was successful, you have Jimmy Carter, former president, referred to the United States as an oligarchy in 2015. So that comparison has already been made. That terminology is already in use. Now, I would suggest there is a pretty substantial difference between the U.S. billionaires and the U.S. version of oligarchy and the U.S. Ukrainian ones, and that would be the willingness to use violence outside of state power to influence to take their goals. I don't know how much. I don't know how much weight you want to put on that distinction, but to me, that's far more important. Stay with the rules generally. Is that Eastern European oligarchs tend to have their own enforcement class, their own people at their disposal that can do things extrajudicially.
Yep. Let me stop right there. I think some of my anarchist friends, maybe even libertarian friends, would argue that the police are there to to defend property and to really defend the interests of the oligarchs. And that's the power of the state. So an oligarch's an oligarch.
Centers around the idea of using money, using finance, wealth to wield power informally and use that power correctly and selfishly. As we look at a world where wealth is being concentrated in fewer and fewer hands, and those hands end up shaking a lot, we will move towards a more apparent oligarchical system. So, whether you want to adopt that terminology now or wait a little bit and hope that things get better, it's up to you. Anyway, it's just a thought.
All right, so that was Beau of the Fifth Column. And I'm going to be releasing some videos on oligarchy. I'll do a little series on that. Yeah, I think if you want to know more about oligarchy, definitely read and oligarchy in republics. Definitely read some Machiavelli, especially the discourses on the first 10 books of Livy, and also just history of Florence. Not his history of Florence, but if you wanted to read more history of the Republic of Florence, they had a republic for a very long time, and but the Medici were really behind, pulling the strings behind the curtains, and Eventually they were kicked out, and they were, but they came back, and they were dedicated oligarchists. And eventually they married into nobility and established well, like they were, they made it a princedom, a monarchy. And Florence finished out the Renaissance with Medici as their prince. So, yeah, I think it's very important to understand the various elements of monarchy, oligarchy, and democracy. And it's also good to have outlets for all of those, and so that they're corralled and their powers can be checked and balanced, and you can have a good republic if you're able to do that. So until next time, long live the republic.